Book of Heaven, Volume 4. 16th to the 31st of January 1901. Page 56 to 60. January 16, 1901. Jesus Christ explains to her the order of charity. As I continued to see him a little indignant with the world, I wanted to occupy myself with placating him, but he distracted me by saying to me, "The charity most acceptable to me is toward those who are closest to me, and those who are closest to me are the purging souls, because they are confirmed in my grace and there is no opposition between my will and theirs. They live continuously in me, they ardently love me, and I am forced to see them suffer within myself, impotent to give themselves the slightest relief on their own. Oh, how tortured my heart is by the position of these souls, because they are not far away, but close to me, not only close, but inside of me. And how pleasing to my heart one who interests himself with them. Suppose you had a mother or a sister who lived with you in a state of sorrow, incapable of helping themselves on their own, and then someone else, foreign, who lived outside of your house, also in a state of sorrows, but capable of helping himself by himself. Would you not be more pleased if someone occupied himself with relieving your mother or your sister, rather than the foreign one who can help himself on his own? And I, certainly, O Lord." Then he added, "The second charity most acceptable to my heart is for those who, though living on this earth, are almost like the purging souls. That is, they love me, they always do my will, they interest themselves with my things as if they were their own. Now, if these are oppressed, in need, in a state of sufferings, and someone occupies himself with relieving them and helping them, this is more pleasing to my heart than if it were done to others." Then Jesus disappeared, and as I found myself inside myself, it seemed to me that those things did not go according to the truth. So, on coming back, my adorable Jesus made me understand that what he had told me was according to the truth. There was only something left to say about the members separated from him, which are the sinners, that if one occupied himself with reuniting these members, this would be very acceptable to his heart. The difference that exists is this, that if a sinner were oppressed, in the midst of a misfortune, and one occupied himself, not to convert him, but to relieve him and help him materially, the Lord would be more pleased if this were done for those who are in the order of grace. In fact, if these suffer, it is always a product, either of the love of God for them, or of their love for God. While if sinners suffer, the Lord sees in them the mark of guilt and of their obstinate will. This is how I seem to understand. After all, I leave the judgment to those who have the right to judge me, whether this goes according to the truth or not. January 24, 1901. Luisa asks Jesus the reason for his privation. Jesus explains it. Having spent the past days in silence and sometimes also without my adorable Jesus, this morning, as he came, I lamented to him saying, "Lord, how is it that you do not come? How things have changed! It shows that it is either for the chastisement of my sins that you deprive me of your lovable presence, or because you no longer want me in this state of victim. Oh, please, I beg you, let me know your will. If I could not be opposed when you wanted the sacrifice from me, much less can I do it now that, finding me no longer worthy of being victim, you want to take me out of it." Interrupting my speaking, Jesus told me, "My daughter, by having made myself victim for mankind, taking upon myself all weaknesses, miseries and everything that man deserved before the divinity, I represent the head of all. And since I am the head before the divinity, the human nature finds in me a most powerful shield that defends it, protects it, excuses it and intercedes for it. Now, since you are in the state of victim, you come to represent for me the head of the present generation. Therefore, having to send some chastisement for the good of the peoples and to call them back to me, if I came to you as usual, by just showing myself to you, I already feel relieved, my pains are mitigated, and it happens to me as to someone who feels a strong pain and screams because of the spasm. If his pain ceased, he would no longer feel like screaming and sending out laments. The same happens to me. As my pains are mitigated, naturally I no longer feel like sending that chastisement. You then, also naturally, in seeing me, try to spare me and to take the pains of others upon yourself. You cannot help doing your office of victim before my presence, and if you did not do so, which can never be, I would be displeased with you. Here is the cause of my privation. It is not because I want to punish your sins. I have other ways to purge you. However, I will repay you. On the days I come, I will double my visits. Aren't you happy? And I, no, Lord, I want you always. Whatever the cause might be, I do not give way to remaining a single day without you. While I was saying this, Jesus disappeared, and I returned inside myself. January 27, 1901. The establishment of faith is in the establishment of charity. As I was in my usual state, my adorable Jesus made himself seen for a little while and, I don't know why, he said to me, "My daughter, the whole establishment of the Catholic faith is in the establishment of charity, which unites the hearts and makes them live in me." Then, throwing himself into my arms, he wanted me to refresh him. After I did as much as I could, he gave me tit for tat, and he disappeared. January 30, 1901. The poison of interest. The virtues and the merits of Jesus are as many towers of fortitude on which everyone can lean along the journey on the way to eternity. This morning, on coming, blessed Jesus transported me outside of myself, in the midst of many people of different conditions, priests, nuns, secular, and beginning his sorrowful lament, Jesus said, "My daughter, the poison of interest has entered into all hearts, and they have become soaked with this poison like sponges. This pestilent poison has penetrated into monasteries, into priests, into secular. My daughter, that which does not surrender to the light of truth and to the power of virtue, surrenders before a most wretched interest. And before this poison, the most sublime and excelling virtues fall shattered like fragile glass." And while saying this, he cried bitterly, "Who can say the torment of my soul in seeing my most loving Jesus cry?" Not knowing what to do to make him stop crying, I spoke some nonsense. "My dear, oh please, do not cry. If the others do not love you, offend you and have their eyes dazzled by the poison of interest, in such a way as to remain all soaked with it, there is I who love you, praise you, look at all that is earthly as rubbish, and aspire to nothing, but in you. Therefore you should be content in my love and stop crying, and if you feel embittered, pour it upon me, for I am more content with it than seeing you cry." On hearing me, he stopped crying and poured a little bit. Then he shared with me the pains of the cross, and then he added, "My virtues and the merits I acquired for man and my passion, are as many towers of fortitude on which everyone can lean along the journey on the way to eternity. But man, ungrateful, running away from these towers of fortitude, leans on mud and conducts himself along the way of perdition." Then Jesus disappeared, and I found myself inside myself. January 31, 1901. Jesus explains the greatness of the virtue of patience. As I was in my usual state, my sweet Jesus was not coming. Then, after much waiting, I saw him for just a little, and he told me, "My daughter, patience is superior to purity, because without patience the soul easily unbridles, and it is difficult for her to remain pure. And when a virtue needs another virtue in order to have life, the second one is called superior to the first. Even more, it can be said that patience is custody of purity. Not only this, but it is staircase to ascend to the mountain of fortitude, in such a way that if one went up without the staircase of patience, he would immediately fall from the highest point to the lowest. In addition to this, patience is seed of perseverance, and this seed produces branches called firmness. Oh, how firm and stable in the good she has started is the patient soul. She pays no attention either to rain, or to frost, or to ice, or to fire, but all her attention is on bringing to completion the good she has started. In fact, there is no greater foolishness than that of one who today does some good because he likes it, and tomorrow he neglects it because he finds no more pleasure in it. What would one say of an eye which at 1 hour possesses sight, and at another is blind? Or of a tongue which now speaks, and now is mute? Ah! Yes, my daughter, patience alone is the secret key to open the treasure of virtues. Without the secret of this key, the other virtues do not come out to give life to the soul and to ennoble her.